One, Alona and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us from Kiev, Ukraine. Jack, thank you so much for organizing this. And to get us started, I think in my point of view, or what I'm most curious about, is how y'all are currently feeling. Y'all are living as close as you can to what's going on. So where are y'all at currently, and how are y'all feeling? What's your current state of mind?
So we won't be saying where we are exactly, just
Sure.
for the sake of, safety and stuff like that. But we're not far from Kiev. We couldn't get out of Kiev on the 24th, 23rd for you guys. And we decided to stay in Kiev. And we were actually going back to our apartment because we were like 5 kilometers away from our apartment. We decided to go back, but then our parents' friends offered to stay with them at the house. And we feel pretty lucky because we have, endless supply of water, food. We have our own bed to sleep on. We have a secure basement to hide in because there have been several rough nights where, we had to. But overall, I feel like we are in a very safe place considering to being in Kiev, like in Kiev, or being in Kharkiv or being in Kherson. So, yeah.
What is some background information about how this kind of started? And why do y'all think it eventually came to this?
I guess it always had to end this way because we were gonna never agree on the Russian terms. As for the Crimean side and as for Donetsk and Lugansk. And Putin always has had his own opinion about this land and its people.
It all started 8 years ago, back in 2014. And now it's just, escalated.
What happened in 2014?
Well, if we start from the very, very beginning, it was when students, just university students, decided to protest against Yanukovych, our ex-president.
And the reason for that protest was the actual change of the several years strategy to go to the European Union. And it was actually based on our constitution, like the main law in Ukraine. And then he said that guys, okay, let's finish that, and we go to the Russian side and combine the Belarus, Russia, Ukraine in like the copy of the European Union, but in our own way. And people started to express questions like why we should do that. We had several years of strategy to go into the European Union. We had a lot of reformations in our country. We cannot do that. We don't want to do that. And we started to
So students started to protest and they were beaten by the police, like heavily. And then people did not like that.
So at that point, like when one student was taken away to, I don't know, to prison and something like that, 5 of them came back from different parts of Kiev. So everything started in Kiev. And it grow in potentially in very big crowd and masses, and a lot of guys were hurt, a lot of guys were shot, and Ukrainian people, they didn't understand what's actually happening there. They were coming to Maidan just to see what happens, and they were actually shot also. So it grew it's something terrible. Yanukovych and his crew, they were trying to implement the same pressure on people like Lukashenko did in 2020, when they also had these protests in Belarus. Yes, in Belarus, but still Lukashenko has succeeded and Yanukovych hasn't.
So when did Zelensky come in charge, or when did he become the new president?
It was just recently.
Yeah.
It was 2020?
2018.
And was that,
Yeah.
I'm guessing Putin was against him coming in charge?
Yes.
Um,
Right now they're
yeah.
calling it like they want to, they want to get rid of the Kiev regime or whatever they're calling it because they are using us for, they're abusing us or whatever. But he was the one we chose. We actually voted for Zelensky.
Some people say that actually Putin and his side, they were in some part relieved that we chose Zelensky because they thought he is weak. He got no experience. He got no experienced crew, and they didn't expect anything from him. But still, you see the result.
Yeah.
Was it, if Putin had his way, right? What is it that he wants Ukraine to become, or the Ukrainian people? Like, what is he pushing for?
God only knows.
Yeah.
He's like his mad and crazy mind. He
Mhm.
just wants power, and that's obvious. He wants power, power, and more power, and that is something he will never get from Ukrainian people because whenever we don't agree with something, we just go out to the streets and we fight for what we believe in and we fight for what we want. That's not something that, Putin has ever experienced with people in Russia, unfortunately, because he scared everyone.
Do you do y'all know anybody currently in Russia? And have y'all talked to anybody about how they feel about this?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
my dad's sister and her children, my cousins, they're all in Russia. When my dad called his sister, she was shocked. She did not know that it was happening because that's not something that they see in Russia. I did get a message on Instagram from my cousin. He sent, "How are you?" And I knew that he knew the truth just because from his messages. And he's also shocked. They're shocked that they're arresting children on the streets who are protesting in Moscow or St. Petersburg. Not sure. I know that one of the um, candidates I was interviewing at my job, she was from Russia. She was not hired, but we stayed in touch. Not me personally, but I know that she was arrested for going out there and protesting. She was released, but she's still going. She got back on the streets. And I know there are a lot of people in Russia who don't agree with all of this. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people in Russia that we can see just from, checking out Instagram stories of bloggers and, just regular people that we followed before this all happened. And we can see that they're not against it. They are for it. They are saying we are proud of Russia. We are proud of Putin. And it's terrible.
Yeah. Do you think that's a result of them not being able to get the content or the information about what's going on? Or is it that they're scared if they speak against Russia, they could get, I don't know, even killed or arrested?
Well, it's several kinds of the same coin, I guess. At this point, there is a joke that you are showing a Russian an apple and call it hell, hey, like
It's an apple.
It's an apple. Can you see it? It's an apple. He's saying, no, I guess it's a banana.
It tastes like banana.
No, this is a photo, an apple of apple in the internet. You can Google it. You can Yandex it. This is apple. No, it's still like a banana. So I guess they are at some kind of illusion or some kind of radical stubbornness. They just don't want to believe the truth. They are saying like everything is fake. You are faking it. We are just here to help you, to save you from something,
Yourself.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying that Russian speaking people are being oppressed here. But Karolina and I we come from the south of Ukraine. We grew up speaking Russian. We only spoke Ukrainian in our schools, at our lessons and things like that. I love Ukrainian, but I never use Ukrainian in my daily life. I had any kind of oppression from anyone.
And actually, when we are talking about the Western Ukraine, where they call it like Bandera land, because they have a lot of banderas, but still, when somebody comes to Western Ukraine and they feel uncomfortable speaking Ukrainian because they don't have much of Ukrainian in their personal life, in their city. Western Ukrainians just say, well, like, listen, you don't have to speak Ukrainian here. We still understand you. You can use Russian language. It's not a problem. You don't have to feel uncomfortable here.
Dang.
So no one here is oppressed unless you are radical about our European way.
Yeah.
So,
And that's, like you said, it's just like blind stubbornness is what I could call it, from individuals possibly in Russia that don't see what's going on. You mentioned at the beginning that y'all were not able to escape or maybe get away. Was that y'all's first thought to do? And then why wouldn't you be able to get out?
Yeah, so Andrew's mom is in Zhytomyr, another city that was also hit. And it's 100 kilometers approximately away from Kiev. So on that morning at 6 a.m. or 6:30 a.m., Andrew called his mom and had said, we're going to pick you up at Zhytomyr and we're going to go together to the village next to Zhytomyr. And we already had things ready. Like we got cash back in January, just in case, because, everyone's been talking. My colleagues from Australia and the US, they've all been emailing, slacking me, messaging me and asking how we're doing. And, we heard the talk that everything what was going on in the news. We bought some of the, canned food a week before, just in case, and threw it in the car and some water. And I also had all of the documents ready and packed. And we on the 23rd, on the night, it was still 23rd for you guys, but the night before we went to grab coffee, and I was like, listen, let's go to the gas station and just, get enough gas so that we have, just in case. We were still hoping that nothing like this will happen. And so at 6:30 a.m., Andrew woke me up and said, it started, we have to leave.
Andrew, what did you hear first? Was it something on the news? Was it a friend texting you? How did y'all learn that it started?
Well, currently our main source of information are Telegram channels and chats. So at that point,
because they're super instant.
Yeah, they are super instant. So like in case anything happens, the next second or 5 seconds, it's only Telegram channels. And as for that night, I guess I haven't slept at all. I was monitoring the internet and Telegram, and I just noticed that Putin released his video message about the such-called special operation, and it actually means that he will invade Ukraine just because he had forces in Belarus and Russia. So everybody expected that he will invade in all possible ways. So that's how I just get to know about that and decided that we had to go at least to Zhytomyr to pick up my mom and get her to the safe place.
some of the people in Kiev and other parts of Kiev, they did hear bombing and sounds like that. We were in the part of Kiev that we do not hear it. So we just heard it from the news, and we noticed the traffic outside of the window that is not normally there.
Yeah, the main problem is that actually the first rockets came to Borispil before the actual video message from Putin. So some people just they
And Borispil is
Yeah.
where our main airport is.
Yeah.
Got it.
So at that point, I guess some of us expected at least some sort of slow operation that will start in Donetsk and Lugansk. They will try to proceed to the western part of Ukraine, starting from that point. But still, he started bombarding our airports, our main infrastructure.
All of the airports in all major cities, even
Yeah.
Western cities.
Yeah. So
Wow.
anywhere, any city that had airport, like civilian airport, military airport, it was bombed.
So that was his, I guess, his first targets were like your main transportation.
Yeah, but still our military defense knew about that. So they had like a brilliant plan. They flew any military plane to Poland and returned it into Ukraine after several hours. So no ship was hurt, and no airplane was hurt by that.
Was there, in recent news, what I was just reading before we hopped on is, I think it's called Kharkiv. Is that a city has been really targeted a lot in the past, probably 24 hours. Why do you think that city has been a recent target?
It's the closest, biggest city to Russia, and a lot of Russian people went there before everything happened. So I guess Kharkiv was expected to be to surrender like any second, because
they thought they would surrender,
like Crimean island at that point. So Kharkiv was expected to be that kind of city, and they expected to fight for Odessa, Kharkiv, some big cities that will surrender, and then after such vision, and other smaller cities will also surrender by their force and so on. But still, talking about Kharkiv, we don't need to forget about Mariupol. It's the biggest administrative city under Ukraine in the Donetsk Oblast. It's currently also bombarded, I guess, maybe more than Kharkiv.
Wow.
So at this point, there are several cities that
and the city that Karolina and I are from, well, we're from a small town on the coast of the Black Sea, but we are close to Kherson, which is another target. And Kherson, just today, was some parts of, like, the administrative building was invaded by Russians. Kherson has been fighting so hard, but they are just, they're not giving up, but still Russians have succeeded at more or less, but we'll get it back. They will get it back.
Sure.
So as for Kharkiv, it just, as I said, it was expected to be surrendered by several hours, I guess.
Yeah, they were hoping for it to be a successful operation, and the next, everyone else would follow.
Got it.
But,
so
they underestimated you guys.
Yes, we cannot expect from them to stop anytime soon, because as we can see, they are just so disgusted with that city, and that Kharkiv do not even thinking about surrendering. So they are just bombarding civilian places, civilian buildings, and killing people just in the middle of the street on the main square, Freedom Square, the biggest square in Europe.
Is there So what we see a lot of is this convoy of Russian troops that they say is making their way to Kiev, or they're say 15, 20 miles outside of Kiev, the capital. Is that something y'all feel, is that something y'all are keeping an eye on? Is that something that's major for y'all to watch? How is that for y'all? Because from our standpoint, that's like what we hear a lot of, is this convoy of Russian troops kind of making their way to Kiev.
Well, we were more scared when we saw that military force on train when they were on our border before they invaded it, because they were like visually they were very dangerous, because we didn't saw them in action. And after they invaded the Ukraine, we saw that they are just pieces of metal that can be
Easily destroyed.
So we saw that actually our military defense had a plan for that. And the main problem for that convoys is that they just are blocking streets because they are blown up. And our main goal in the next several months after the end of this war will be cleaning the streets from this convoy, because they were easily bombarded by our air forces, by our drones, Bayraktar from Turkey. But still, the main problem of such convoys is that you can actually invade some kind of Ukrainian territory, but still you have the back force for that convoys, like gas convoy, medical convoy, and something like that. And because of the territorial defense and the Ukrainian opposition, the second convoy from the gas convoys and so on, they are blown up. So actually the first convoy, which consists of tanks and armed cars and so on, they cannot move further without the gas, without food, without help. And they easily give up, they surrender, or they are just killed by our military defense.
Is right now the Ukrainian military defense, is it mainly, like you said, drones and like missile defense, or people on the ground?
Unfortunately, our air defense cannot be everywhere because they are not so massive as.
Let's not share that.
Everybody knows that. We didn't have to ask for the clothes of our air force.
I'm just explaining. Right now, everyone is scared of sharing anything about our defense.
Got it.
Just because they have ears and eyes everywhere, and even posting on Instagram. We do not do, like, we're trying to not do that. And even like when talking to each other on messengers, we do not share any kind of information.
Well, the main thought there is, in case NATO will close the sky, we will end this war in several weeks, because on the ground we are more powerful.
Got it.
The Russian side. That's everybody talking about, because in the sky we are still fighting for it, and on the ground we make great progress for the defending. But still we have to move forward to push them to our borders and push them over. But still they also have their air defense.
What in you guys feeling or eyes do y'all see how this ends? Like how does it end? Do you see it lasting for weeks, months? I mean, I've heard today there's truth talks. I don't know what that exactly means. What are y'all hearing and feeling?
I don't know. Our hopes are that it's going to end as soon as possible, but we have no idea.
And the main problem here is that recently Putin and Macron, the French president, they had a talk actually on the initiative from the Russian side. And Putin actually talked about continuing his special operation, in other words, our war. And he thinks about ending it at all costs. So he wants to proceed further in both military way and killing civilians. But still, he talks about that he will either achieve his goals by the diplomacy or achieve his goals by the military way. So he doesn't even thinks about stopping it.
Okay.
Well, according to all of the documents or whatever that we found after destroying some of their convoys, is that this operation was supposed to last for a couple of days.
15 days.
For 15 days, starting from February 20th until March 6th. That's according to their plan, but their plan just went sideways, so it can last longer. But according to Putin and what he said recently, everything is going according to the plan. They are proceeding, they're successful at their plan. So I don't know what success looks like in their eyes, but we can see from his speeches and whatever that he's super angry. I've never personally seen Putin in his. I've always seen him being calm and but he's been super angry and like shaking and very annoyed and frustrated, and that's both good and bad because he's crazy and who knows what he's gonna come up with next.
Like, who knows what's going on in his mind about what is going on, even though in reality it's probably a lot different.
Yeah.
Do y'all feel supported by the rest of the world?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. I feel so grateful. Even, even at my company, I work with at an Australian company. And besides all of the messages I received before everything started, when I woke up at 6:30 a.m., I received a message from my manager. She already knew what was going on, and they were like, "Please take as many days off as you need." They were all worried and supported, asking how they can help Ukraine as well. Same goes for you, Andrew's company. And just seeing and that's just a small example of it, just seeing all of the rallies and everyone going out on the streets in Europe, in the US, everywhere, it all feels surreal. Everything that's going on feels surreal, but seeing all of the help from the rest of the world feels like we're not alone and feels like we're heard, which definitely was not the case 8 years ago, but yeah.
I guess in all that is good to hear that you do feel supported, because I think we want to support you guys and we just don't really know sometimes the best way to do it. But what Jack and them have been doing is hopefully raising a lot of money for you guys. I don't know a better way to support y'all, hopefully give y'all as much finances as possible. But Jack, do you want to talk about that real quick and how we can better raise as much money and send it to them for stuff they actually need?
Yeah. So number one, Alona and Andrew are our best friends in Ukraine. So a war on Ukraine is a war on us. These are our friends. These are our families. These are people all across the country that we know that are personally affected by Russia invading and being ruthless. So when we heard the news on Thursday that Russia invaded, we woke up to that here in America. We were shocked, like just like all the Ukrainians. They couldn't believe Putin actually did it. Like, it does not make sense because he's crazy. Anyways, so the first few days we were just trying to come to our senses, keep tabs on our friends. We were in touch with Alona and Andrew, seeing if they're okay. What can we do? And then on Sunday, finally, So we realized some of our friends need money, and I said, let's try and put this out there on social media and see if we can raise more money to send more money to people who need it. So
Yeah, which we're trying to help our, like with our own finances. We were trying to help at first, like with to our family and closest friends, but then it kind of escalated to, oh wow, a friend of a friend needs some like food or water, because at this point, some people are very isolated. Some people are more lucky, like to be where they are, but some are isolated and surrounded in like villages or certain areas of Ukraine. So it's pretty crucial, and it's easier to like send them money directly to their card so they're able to stock up and buy important things. Because humanitarian help is coming, and there are so many great organizations that are doing that, but it's kind of on the way and it's more limited. It's only like directed to certain bigger like cities and areas, and certain places are totally like isolated and left alone, and people are starving at like some people at this point. So that's why we are trying to raise money and help as many people as we can through like connections that I have personally with different people all over Ukraine. So yeah.
I mean, my wife grew up there and I lived there in 2019, and we traveled with a ministry there or an organization. So we know a lot of people from all over, and those people that are able to help others, they're doing it. So we have more than a few friends in which we are able to send money directly to their, where they can spend it to buy groceries and deliver them to people all over the country. So the needs are being met. And since Sunday, just posting on social media and keeping people updated with who it's going to and what they're doing, we've been able to raise $16,000 since this past Sunday, and we've already sent, I think, 12,000 directly to individuals, families,
Organizations, just a bunch
Yeah.
of different.
impacting hundreds of people. So
What is the site for everybody to go to?
directsupportukraine.com.
Yep. Directsupportukraine.com. And I'll put it in all the show notes, all over YouTube, everywhere we can. Andrew and Alona, what is y'all's kind of message to outsiders, right? People like us, to hopefully support you guys?
First of all, thank you, because we do feel your support, and not only money, all of the humanitarian support that people are sending, because right now we have money, but there's not much that we can buy. And second of all, just know that Ukraine will win for sure. We will stand till the end, and people in Ukraine believe in our victory. So whatever people are doing, whatever help they're sending, everything matters, and that's not going to be in vain. 100 and 200%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll be thinking about y'all. Hopefully everyone that listens to this will chip in and do their part, but I can't thank y'all enough for coming on, spending, 35, 40 minutes with me. And if there's anything we can do in the next few weeks or months or years, please let us know. And hopefully we can chip in and do a little bit to help you guys out.
No,
Well, I
thank you.
know
Thank you
over
for
time, like we don't know how long this is going to last. The need is only going to be greater as time goes on. People are going to be running out of money because not everyone can work.
Yep.
I know, like most people don't have income right now because they can't work. So they're having to buy groceries if there are some in the markets, and they're running low on money, and they just are running out more and more. So the longer this goes on, the more of a disaster it's going to become. So don't forget about Ukraine in the US. If it leaves the news, don't forget about Ukraine. They're going to need to rebuild. Even
Sure.
even if Russia leaves today, they've just destroyed a lot of the eastern part of the country. So they already need a lot of help. I think 1 million people are refugees now, and
Mhm. I
who
saw
knows
that.
how many of them, I don't know how many homes have been bombed, but a lot of those won't have homes to come back to, or they won't be able to get back because there's stuff blown up in the roads, or the roads are
Connections,
blown
roads,
up, the rail is blown up. So they're going to continue to need support for even months after this, even if Russia were to leave today.
Sure. It's not only right now, but it's also the rebuild, right? Getting everything hopefully back at one point to operating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything else, feel free to say it now, but we can always do this again. And I just hope it can help support and raise some money or whatever it is, awareness for what y'all are going through, so we can all be there to help support you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Yeah, we appreciate your help, and it matters.
And Jack and Karolina, we love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love
for
you
your
guys.
mutual
Glad you're
help.
safe.